Physically disabled users of Reddit. What are some less commonly talked about struggles that come with your disability? Not always being able to tell when an illness or injury is bad enough to need medical attention. When nauseous, fatigued, and in a noticeable amount of pain is just your constant state of being, it's not easy to know when something worse might be going on or if you're just having a bad flare-up. Farts are wheelchair height. The heinous need to be near a bathroom at all times. You wouldn't think, but so many places don't have bathrooms and it really limits where you can go and how you socialize. It's very limiting. The number of random people who will grab or lean on my wheelchair without permission, when I am in it, would shock you. Edit. The replies from non-disabled folks who found this surprising, and disabled folks going like yeah that happens a lot, really tells the story. Society needs to do better. I use a cane, and sometimes my fiancé forget I only have one hand available when standing. Also the amount of energy required to do the same activities. Bowel and bladder issues. It may not be obvious but they can be a constant issue. Also pain that isn't obvious. I am disabled and a part-time forearm crutch user. I have been accused for doing this to get attention because I'm young and I don't look disabled. Just the exhaustion from having to deal with your limitations, both physically and mentally. Doing anything always takes extra effort, and usually requires more resting to feel up to doing whatever else needs to be done. As a disabled person who works, I usually only have enough energy to make dinner when I get home. So chores tend to pile up, and some jobs just never get done because it requires more energy than I have in one day, unless I get someone else to do it for me. Menus up way behind the cash registers. I've always wondered if it gave people with normal sight problems. I don't look disabled so I get judged as lazy all the time. Every minute of every day is simply pain. It hurts to move. It hurts to not move. It just always hurts. Edit. Thank you all for your words of encouragement. Accessibility gets talked about but what gets me? Shitty accessibility. I live in Adelaide. We have a stylized gutter system in the shopping CBD that's meant to mimic a river or some shit and it sways and curves around. Meaning all the fucking inner CBD shopping lane is uneven and slopes to the gutter that wavers around. Combined with polished stone that gets slippery when wet, it's a nightmare to try and control a wheelchair of any type. Also, steep ramps. Fucking hell. I am not that buff and strong. My shoulders dislocate under force. Your 30-degree ramp is fucking terrifying. People get mad when I'm standing in the disabled line. Yes, I've fucking noticed I'm in the disabled line. Thanks for reminding me of that. Not me, but my dad is blind. Lots of home appliances have been going from physical knobs and buttons with clear distinct functions to touch screen panels. Some without even any type of sound or tactile cue to let the person know. Most of us tend to hate when people try to get offended on our behalf. We aren't children. Also with my disability I've been accused of having monkeypox. I have NF1 and have tumors on my face that some people mistake for monkeypox. That scenario recently happened to a girl on a train in NYC and a doctor in Spain made a false story about a guy who had it but it was really tumors on his legs. People are assholes. Brachial plexus palsy from birth. There's so many things that you would never even think of would be difficult to do, until you have to reach with both arms. Changing light bulbs in ceiling lights, hanging curtains, screwing things into walls, putting things on or getting things on a high shelf. I'm a fairly tall person but I end up standing on chairs a lot. The problem is even with standing on a chair say, to put a screw in the wall to hang a picture, my paralyzed arm will only reach out about a half-inch from my body. Putting on a coat can be weirdly difficult. I usually just stuff my one arm in it and then swing the coat around to get my other one in. Also, coats and jackets and long-sleeve shirts always look a little odd because one sleeve is always cuffed up. That's more vanity than anything but it's just something that I have to do most days. I'm grateful that even though I have a disability I've had it since birth. There were many times in my life when I wished I had two working arms, and that I could be like everyone else. I used to dream that one day I would wake up and my arm would just work. That's never going to happen. However, this is the only way I've ever known how to live. So I guess it could be worse. I don't mind it now, I can joke about it. It's part of who I am. The social aspect. So many people get mad, like I am not disabled enough to be using whatever help I need. But it takes me so much longer to recover from overexertion. Kind of makes me want to deposit people in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Just because they technically could tread water for 3 days doesn't mean they should have to or that they would be in any condition to go to work the next day. I am deaf, so I don't get excited much about going anywhere. Church, movies, plays, and concerts. If there wasn't any interpreters I didn't enjoy as much but would still go because I wanted to be with family having fun. Then I feel guilty because it would be my mama interpreting or my sibling, and I knew if they interpret they don't enjoy it as much because interpreting makes them forget what they heard. I found out that movies do have subtitles. You just had to find which movies Lace offers that option, and it has to be on certain days and usually during the daytime when it was more common for everyone to go at night together. I hate it when I am perfectly capable of crossing the streets and people would literally grab me and yank me back. Makes me mad when they think they are helping me, but if they hadn't grabbed me I would have been already at other side of the street before the vehicle even made it across. People don't realize how much deaf people hate being touched because we are constantly having to respond to people who tap their shoulders or grabbing them to force them to look at you for attention. I used to work at camp as a counselor for the deaf, and other counselors were hearing and would grab kids like that, and the kids would try to run away. I would advise them to learn how to simply wave for their attention. One had the nerve to tell me off because one kid refused to listen to her, so she body blocked the kid. I said the kid probably doesn't respect you because you didn't respect their body space. She was angry at me for suggesting that. Also, being deaf, I have noticed people tend to think I am stupid. It doesn't bother me so much now because it simply means I don't have to talk to them, but it pisses my family off when people assume I am stupid. I have to explain that it's no use explaining to these people who think I am stupid that I am not. Their opinion is already made up. I met a guy who kept going on and on how I don't look deaf because I am too pretty to be deaf. His wife was pissed at him and had to tell him to shut up because that's rude. I shrugged it off because I don't care. I get it all the time that people comment constantly how I don't look deaf. Then on top of that they'd say thank God she's pretty. Like being pretty is a good read to make up for being deaf? I guess the older I get the less I care about what people say about my deafness. You sort of grow thick skin about it. But it used to bother me so much when I was younger because I never know what to say because I am an introvert and don't like dealing with rude people. The fact that it's hard to keep friends because you have to cancel last minute so often. It's not that I don't want to go, I so want to go. But my body said no. Only the best of friends stick around after years of this. Unsolicited advice. I literally spend all of my time working on managing my illness. I don't need you telling me to see your magic crystal infrared naturopath because it won't work. B, I don't have the energy anyway. C, I'm spending all my time, money and energy on pursuing scientific interventions. I realize people think they're helping, but the best help is listening. How drained you feel when there's a flare-up. My intestines were giving me trouble this morning, and I had to take a nap when it was over because bracing against the pain expends a lot of energy. I have chronic pain from being crushed in a head-on with a semi. I use low-impact, high-intensity exercise as my go-to pain management. If my muscles are sore from working out, my chronic pain isn't always the focus. This has me in really good shape but still very much disabled. Unfortunately, that makes it look like I'm a completely able-bodied person that's just lazy. How isolating and lonely it can make you. I have mild cerebral palsy but look pretty normal. I do limp when walking. There were times in college when rushing to class that people assumed I hurt myself, twisted ankle. The big struggle was getting them to understand it's not an injury when they insisted on helping. Even with the ADA, there are still places that aren't wheelchair accessible, so you kind of get into the habit of calling ahead and asking or looking online. A depressingly large amount of holiday attractions aren't accessible, for example. The lack of energy to do even the most mundane things. Feeling bummed out and in pain a lot. Urinary incontinence and the cost associated with it. A vast people with my condition struggle with incontinence, but we don't talk about it. I've had incontinence since I was 12 years old. I was so embarrassed that I didn't tell anyone for years. I had to buy diapers behind my parents' back. I also always smelled really bad. The diapers would leak or the pads I used would fall off, so I would just leak urine all the time. It was so embarrassing. I would have to change my pants multiple times a day to not smell. Well, I consulted a doctor and there's nothing they can do for me. I am 22 now and have lost almost complete control of my bladder. People don't understand that leaks are inevitable and happen occasionally. I get absolutely roasted for having leaks. My friends still make comments to me when I buy diapers and thick urinary pads, despite knowing my condition. People only accept disability until it's embarrassing. Not to mention the cost. I am a broke 22-year-old college student living on my own in LA. 10 diapers from the only brand that won't leak are $28. Think about how many times you use the bathroom a day. Yeah, that's just one cost of my disability. There's so many more. Ramps can be weirdly steep. Doorways suck, heavy ones are the worst. And people get very angry if they think you're pretending to be disabled because you are young, or are an ambulatory wheelchair user because only paralyzed people use them. Personally, my biggest struggle that I've been working on for years is not feeling like I'm useless and a burden to everyone I love. I've come a long way, but I'm definitely not where I want to be yet mentally. Physically disabled since birth. Don't make enough to make ends meet but makes too much for disability assistance. Fuck the system. That it's functionally illegal to get married. If you're disabled and live on disability, marriage voids your benefits.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it. Tomorrow we will upload a new video. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you soon.